pleasant good day to you all. This morning we're going to be dealing with a touchy business, so that of child rearing, birth. Unfortunately, the wrong side of that, those who don't make it and why they didn't make it. And therefore, there's this big program that has come up. It's called the Program for the Reduction of Maternal and Child Mortality. And since you can't remember all of that, they have put it in an acronym called Promac. I like the pro part. Sounds like we're working towards something, some initiative. And for that reason, we have invited Marion Waitsome McIntyre. She's from the National Family Planning Board, and we have also she's a communicator. So her job is to change the behavior and is to get into our headspace and to tell us why we should change our behavior. We have an economist on the line, and she's Tashna Morris. She's from the PIOJ, and she'll tell us what all of the relevance of all of this has to do with the PIOJ and Jamaica going forward. Welcome, ladies. Let me first start out from the way it should go, is what is Promac, what it's about? Mariam?
Okay, hi, Michael, and hello to your viewers, our listeners. So Promac is, as the acronym says, the Program for the Reduction of Maternal and Child Mortality. So it's a program that was started, I think Tashna can fill us in terms of when it started, because she was on the project long before me. But what we aim to do under this project is to reduce the maternal mortality and child mortality in Jamaica by doing
I'm gonna ask you to back up a bit, because whenever you use terms like that, I'm going to come in and say, what does that mean? Yes.
Sure.
Yes.
Okay. Which one? Mortality?
Child mortality.
Okay, so when we talk about maternal mortality and child mortality, it's really talking about the numbers of deaths that we encounter in that age bracket or with that target population. So currently, our numbers for maternal mortality and child mortality are higher than we want them to be, especially for the maternal aspect. So that's where this project comes in, to try to make an impact where that area is concerned, to bring the numbers down.
And infant mortality is because we only recently had a situation where we saw, unfortunately, the mother of a child dying, and that child is motherless. And therefore, that creates a challenge for us as Jamaicans. You're growing up that way. So there's an infant, that's a baby who didn't make it.
Yes.
And the maternal.
It's the mother.
The mother, you know. And I just want to say as an aside, fathers die too in instances like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So continue in terms of what is this all about and what's this program hope to do? What are the objectives?
So I'm going to hand over to Tashna now, so she can give you a little bit more background information on Promac itself.
Yeah, sure, Tashna. Yeah, just unmute yourself, Tashna, and hit us and tell us what is all this thing about.
So Promac, as Marion was saying, we had started this project in 2013, and the overall objective of Promac is to improve maternal mortality and child mortality in Jamaica, which is focused on our Millennium Development Goals 3 and 4, and which is now our Sustainable Development Goal number 3. Overall, we want to improve. I'm
gonna ask you to back up there again for me. Tashna, you're running past us with all these goals and all these things. Millennium thing, when is that? It's morphed into something else. Help us out with that.
Right. So our Millennium Development Goals, which actually ended, we said more, so Millennium Development Goals 3 and 4, so 3 for maternal mortality and 4 for child mortality, has now been subsumed under our Sustainable Development Goals number 3, which is an overarching health sustainable development goal. So we kind of, UN kind of put them all together, and that's what we're focused on for Promac.
Is
Not
there a
only our
deadline? Just so that I get it.
2030. Yes,
2030 is the
2030 is for our sustainable development goals.
okay. Okay. All right.
Right.
2030.
So 2030, and our aim actually is to, I don't know if Marian wants to tell us, but I'll just drop it in there since we're all about the numbers. So for the sustainable development, our current goals, we want to reduce maternal mortality ratio to less than 70 per 100,000 live births,
Right.
and to reduce
Whenever you're
neonatal
using those
mortality.
numbers, could you say them slowly for us? I insist that my people
So
understand what's going on.
So we want to reduce maternal mortality to
Yes.
less than 70 per 100,000 live births.
Okay. How
And we
much
want
is
to
it
reduce
now?
neonatal mortality or babies deaths by 12 per 1,000 live births.
Okay. What are they
And
now? So
so,
I get a sense of what's going on.
Marian, what do you like? So I'll hand that one over to Marian, who can give us the actual dates of what we are having now.
Okay.
I
Sure.
just know the
Okay, so
goals.
or I can speak specifically to our maternal health area. Right now we are in the 90s. So the number sort of fluctuates between 80, over 85 to about 90 something. I think a few years ago we were even at 110. So what we are trying to do now is to reduce these numbers to less than 70. So you see, we still have a far way to go. And unfortunately, we've hit
Right.
sort of a plateau because
Yes.
from probably the last 10 years, the numbers
We
have
were
not changed
decreasing.
that much.
Yes.
Yes.
So we've been just
Right. So
in that.
there. But we have gone down. It's just as Marian said that it has plateaued, and that's really what Promac sought to do while we were before Promac going on. It was not happening at the pace that we would want to, and so the Promac project was really to bolster the efforts that we have already been doing through the Ministry of Health in this area, and that's really through obstetrics care, which is for mothers, and neonatal care. One of the major components of the PROMAC is the building of what we call high dependency units, which is a step down or a mid-level from intensive care units. A lot of the times, mothers and babies need extra care during these times, but not as much as an intensive unit. So we are building high dependency units to provide specialized care for both mothers and babies. And that's one of the major parts of PROMAC.
Okay. Help me with this. You said this started when? Uh, and
We started in Yes.
go ahead.
So we started in 2013. We actually received a top-up grant of 22 million euros from the EU delegation towards developing a project related to helping our goals in this area, MDGs 3 and 4, in 2011. So actually, we took a full year and a half to really and truly develop a project that we found was multifaceted and that really would go towards the issues that Jamaica was facing, which were
Can,
mainly, again, specialized care, increased training, as well as increased in transportation for mothers and children.
may
So
I
in
need to
2013,
embarrass you publicly? I mean, when you say things like, you know, 22 million euros, talk to me. I don't do euros.
it was approximately 3.3 billion Jamaican dollars. That is really what the EU had provided to us in grant resources.
And that is to be spent
And
over how many years?
and that is supposed to, so it's being spent over 7 years. So this project ends this year, November 2020. And so most of the funds actually goes towards the building out of the infrastructure of the high dependency units. We have been able to open the high dependency unit in St. Anne's Bay Hospital. We had just done the official opening at Victoria Jubilee Hospital, and we are heading down next week to Spanish Town Hospital and Bustamante Hospital for Children. So we have that a lot of work has gone on the ground, even though it might not be in print or in media, but we have been working on the ground to develop these infrastructure. We've also provided training to both doctors and nurses, healthcare specialists in hospitals and on the ground to make sure that they're ready to utilize the equipment, utilize the units, as well as to provide specialized care for mothers and babies. And we're also doing a research on the issues related to premature births in Jamaica. So we're actually also trying to seek to improve policy making through evidence-based reporting. So that is expected to also assist policy in how we move forward, even after PROMAC has ended.
All right. And of course, it's just a program to get us in the right behavior.
Correct.
Right. For the benefit of our viewers, I'm going to ask that we use a young lady, just imagine her, and take us through the process. All right. Let's assume that she has done what it takes to have a baby. All right. So let's take it from there. She now knows, yes, she now knows that she's pregnant. Walk us through what you would like to see that person do as it relates to doing the right thing as Promac would like to present. So let's do that because we want to individualize and personalize it, both father and mother, if you may. So take us there. She's now pregnant. She went to the bathroom. She did the test. It came up plus. What should she do? What would Promac want her to do?
Okay, so we're going to call this lady Susan, all right?
Gonna call her who?
Susan, and Susan is 35 years old.
Susan's, we did not pick on you. We just decided that that's the name. Okay,
we're gonna work with that name. All right, so from our perspective, what we definitely want is for Susan to even do something before she conceives. So I'm going to start there, before she even decided that, yes, this is the time to have a baby. We want to ensure that Susan is going to her doctor, getting her checkups regularly. If she has any chronic diseases, for example, high blood pressure, diabetes, sugar, or if she has some heart condition, for example, in the case where we had that unfortunate death some months ago, we'd want Susan to ensure that she has all these conditions under control. If that means that she's taking medications, if that means that she needs to start a new diet, that means that she needs to be doing exercise, all of these things have to preempt actual conception. No, she has decided it's time to get pregnant. We're going to conceive. We want her as soon as she has missed her period. Susan should get to a doctor again. Now, this checkup will serve two purposes. One is to confirm the pregnancy, because yes, you've done a pregnancy test, but of course, there are some physical aspects that the doctor can do to confirm the pregnancy, which includes just some checks around the abdominal area. Secondly, it serves the purpose of ensuring that physically she is well enough to carry a baby. Because you, at this point, know the doctor would check to see how well she's doing with the management of her chronic disease. If she has one, they would have to check her weight. Because if she enters a pregnancy already overweight, the chance is that during the pregnancy, she's going to gain much more weight than she anticipates. And that again can pose some problems because that is a comorbidity when it comes on to the other chronic diseases. And when I say comorbidity, meaning they come hand in hand. So if a woman is pregnant and she's already overweight, the likelihood of her developing the other conditions is greatly increased. Secondly, well, this thing, so after she goes to the doctor, the next that we want her to do is to ensure that she continues her regime. So if she was doing exercise before, you do not stop. Only thing that we want you to do is to ensure that your doctor gives you the go ahead. Because we know that sometimes some persons may have some situations, for example, a short cervix or something else is happening with their womb that might compromise the pregnancy if they engage in physical activity. So once she gets to go ahead from the doctor, continue your exercise, continue your walking, ensure that you're continuing your healthy diet, because it is critical for you to have all the right nutrients and to get enough calories just to ensure that you carry this baby. Because remember, we always say you're eating for two. You're not necessarily eating for two, but you're eating to ensure that your body is at the optimal health to be able to carry a baby. to give that additional energy, to give that additional nutrient, to give additional iron and every other micronutrient that is necessary to carry a pregnancy. Additionally, we want to ensure that if there are other issues in Susan's life that may contribute to a stressful situation for her, she needs to get that under control. Stress and pregnancy do not work well together. Definitely not. So we definitely want Susan to do something about that. If it means that she has to get counseling, go and get the counseling. If it means that she needs to get support from family members to deal with whatever situation she's dealing with, we need to have her doing that. Because what we have found, why we even doing this project and the campaign that we're going to speak about in a little bit, it's because we have noticed that over time, women come into the clinic late during their pregnancy because maybe they thought that they have this all under control already. Maybe this is their second or third or fourth child, so they don't see the need to come in early. They're even wondering, what new can the nurse tell me that I don't already know?
Hold on a bit for me. Are
Yeah.
you saying that it doesn't matter the number you have had before, you treat everyone as if it's the first one?
Exactly. Every pregnancy is unique. Every pregnancy is unique. And your body responds to each pregnancy differently. So yes, the first three might have been a breeze. You got pregnant, you went through, you got everything done perfectly, you delivered vaginally without any issues. Does not mean that the fourth one will be like that. And also, the other thing that we find is that the older women are when they present to clinic, you have a lot more issues that come up at that time. So that's why we gave Susan the age of 35, because that's the age group that we're actually targeting with our campaign, 30 to 45, because during that age bracket, that's when sometimes the weight gain starts to come on. That's usually when the chronic diseases start to come up or pop up. You went through your 20s not worrying about sugar. You could eat anything you want to eat. By the time you hit 30, that's when, you start to have to do certain things to reduce your sugar levels. So for pregnancy, it is extremely important that once you've gotten pregnant, you need to ensure that you, one, go to the clinic early. That's in the first trimester, the first 12 weeks of the pregnancy. As soon as you miss your period, you go in, get a checkup. Next, you need to ensure that you're eating properly. You're eating all the nutrients that you need to have a balanced, healthy diet. If you have challenges with that, there are nutritionists that you can access through our public health system, as well as there are nutritionists available privately if you'd prefer that route, that can assist you with a meal plan to be able to ensure that you're maximizing on your meals as much as possible. And thirdly, if you are on medications already for chronic diseases, ensure that you continue to take them. Do not stop because you're pregnant, because this is a time now that you definitely need to control this condition as much as possible.
Might I go to Tashna, because I can see her, I'm not seeing her, but I can just imagine her swiveling in her chair and say, that's Susan. They're different from different socioeconomic circumstances that would, you're saying, I think you're dealing with a more educated, informed Susan. You go to the clinic and you make sure this, and then but the Susan also that our economists have to deal with is a Susan who, like, OMG, I got pregnant, OMG, I can't deal with this, OMG, OMG. So you are the economist here, Tashna. Give me a sense of the critical importance and what does this offer for the economy if we get this right.
Well, so actually, one, I would like to bring this now back to PIOJ and our role as the leaders of the Vision 2030 Jamaica National Development Plan. And one of our number one priorities is a healthy population. As you know, a healthy population improves our ability in our labor force, it improves our ability in our productivity, and of course, automatically leads to improved growth generally in the economy. When we have sick mummies, sick babies, then we put, as Marian said, bring stress on the family, bring stress on the individual, and as a result, therefore, we have reduced productivity all across the board.
Stress on the economy. You can continue. Stress on the
and stress on the economy.
Yeah.
That is true. And so we have found, therefore, that when we can inject um, some form of improvement directly towards the health, towards healthy population, we will see that spillover into the economy through our labor force and through our actual productivity. Because again, if you're at the hospital most of your pregnancy, because you may have not gone up and done your proper checkups, you can't be at work. You can't be at work, you can't earn your income, and as a result, you cannot have that multiplier effect in the economy. So this is why it's actually very important that we have placed healthy population in our overall achievement of our Vision 2030 Jamaica National Development Goals, which again coincides with SDGs in 2030. So that's really why it's very important that we're having this campaign of healthy bodies a must, going to clinic is a must to ensure that you are at your optimum throughout your pregnancy and beyond.
All right. So we have gotten it in terms of the targets. We want to come down, say 70 per 100,000 and infants under 12 per
Well,
100,000.
1,000, right?
1,000, yes.
Would that be a fair amount to say that I got my numbers right?
Yes.
You did.
Oh, Michael,
Yes.
let me fill something in for you. I think earlier we didn't have the exact numbers for the last data that we collected, so I have it right now.
Yes.
So for maternal mortality, we are at 89 per 100,000 live births. So that's 89 deaths per 100,000 live births. And for infant mortality, we are at 21.3 per 1,000 live births.
And we want to get it to 12.
Yes.
Yes.
A long way
We
off.
want to cut
Yes.
that number in half,
Yes.
essentially.
Yes.
In half. Yes.
Whoa. All right. I am hearing a situation where we now need to change behavior. We can't do this without almost a scientific approach. You have to know what behavior is. What is it that you think, before we go into the campaigning of this, what is it that you think that's leading us to live like this? What's causing, are there myths out there? Are there, what's going on, and how do you counter that? For heaven's sakes. Yes.
Oh boy. That is a $1 million question. So, as a behavior change specialist, let me give you a little background information. So, our work at the National Family Planning Board deals specifically with behavior change, but we look at various elements. So, we look at behavior change as it relates to sexual and reproductive health. Something as commonplace as using a condom. You know, we all know the benefits of using a condom. We all know the statistics as it relates to HIV. We know what's happening when it comes on to pregnancy. Yet you wouldn't be surprised at how difficult it is to convince persons that they should use a condom every time. Now, let's come back now to the whole issue of taking care of yourself or doing the right things when it comes on to your pregnancy. Some of the issues that we find that cause persons to do what they do and to stick to it. Family history. So if you have a mother, grandmother who, maybe went through her pregnancy, she had out her lot, and for the whole time she didn't need to go to the clinic, she just showed up at the hospital when it was time for her to give birth. You find that continues down throughout the generations. And these women know that we have in our society feel that, hey, if my mother did it, if my grandmother did it, why, I can do it too. Why do I need to go to the hospital, to the clinic? Secondly, we have persons now who, because of their multiparous women, so multiparous meaning that they've had several children already.
Okay.
Again, that cultural thing where, oh, I've been there, done that, I don't need to do this again. That's something that we're trying very hard to counter, and it's hard because nothing beats experience. So if my experience for the last 3 or 4 kids that I've had is that, it's normal, I can go through this without any issues. It's so difficult to convince a woman now who's now in her 30s, having her 4th or 5th child, that, hey, look here, you can't do what you did in your 20s now. It's a different ball game. There's a lot more happening in your body that requires you to monitor it adequately. Next, we have issues with partners. And that's why a part of our campaign is to implore to our men, to the fathers. No, if the father is not convinced that he needs to support his wife throughout this antenatal period, you're gonna have challenges. So the wife is not the partner is not going to get the chance to be able to go to the clinic as often as she should. She might not get the finances, the financial support to be able to go to the clinic and to get the necessary foods that she needs to eat and all the other levels of support that she needs. It is so important for our husbands or our partners or boyfriends or baby fathers to support their spouse or support their partner throughout this. So again, behavior change in this context is not just with the women, it's with the partners as well. Because without the partner support and without the partner even coming with you to the clinic, that makes a world of a difference for a lot of women. We find that our women just slump back down into some of the negative behaviors that we're trying to fight.
Have you ever, is your program ever thoughtful of teaching men that they become pregnant too?
Yes. Well, we've never phrased it in that way,
Yes.
but we always say it takes two to tango, you know?
Yes.
Both of you work together to create this child. Both of you are going to be needed to carry this pregnancy to fruition and to take care of the child once the child comes into this world. So that's the
Right.
way that we pitch it.
Yes.
And I just want to also say, Michael, that even before the specific works of the NFP being this campaign, we also had a previous campaign through Rise Live, and one of its major tenants was man up. So it was an understanding that at this point in time, men, you also have to step up to the plate. It's not just the woman who has to be doing all of this work. You have to step up as well. So it's really, we're trying to continue that message throughout the program, not just at the start, but all the way through to its end.
Tasha, might I ask you this? I, I, I hear the amount of times that you might be required to go to the clinic, yes,
Mm-hmm.
or to your doctor. But from that socioeconomic group who can't afford the doctor because they don't have a health plan,
Mm-hmm.
and a whole host of us don't have, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, are the clinics, a little reduced from ICUs, the ones you're talking about, are they so
Yes.
equipped, if you may, to handle persons if they decide to, I've heard Tashna and I've heard Marion, I'm going to take, I'm having the sixth one, but I'm going to change my life. Or this is the first one, I'm going to take on what they say and see if I can help bring down this thing to under 12 or under,
17, right?
70. Yes.
70,
Um,
70
do
per
we
100.
have the
Yeah.
structure to deal with this, Tashna? Do we have this, Tashna?
And this is the beauty of yes, I think we do. This is the beautiful thing about Promac, where we were not just looking at you. Are you hearing me?
Yes, loud and clear. The
Okay,
beauty of Promac.
great. Just
Yes.
wanted to check. Yes, the beauty of Promac is that we're not just looking at infrastructure, but we were also looking at purchasing equipment that will assist in saving mother and child. So we were able to spend 3 million euros trying to get equipment that is related to saving saving mothers and child. But in addition, while we did not want to only look at the tertiary level institutions, that's the major hospitals, but we wanted to go into the community. So we actually provided trainings to community health aides, community workers, so that they can also assist those within their communities to inform them about what's the important ways to maintain health. We also are also providing equipment to doctors in their community to go out into the home. So for instance, if you're a mom and you can't make it, we do have the facilities that we can go into your home and check on you during that time. So we are trying our best to improve the overall structure of the health system, not only for those who can go to their own private doctors, but for anybody who wants to come into our health system, they can do so and receive the best care as if you were going to a private institution.
I'm not about to play with tradition, but do midwives fit into this? Because,
Yes,
um,
they do.
I get a
We were,
sense
of
they're at
course,
birth. at birth, you
We
know.
were actually, I want to tell you that we were able to provide midwife bags, and these were actual bags with equipment for midwives that they can go into the community and provide services. So we, as I said, we've left no one out. Midwives were supported, nurses are supported, doctors are supported, as well as the Ministry of Health itself, because we understand that it's a multifaceted issue. And so we have to take a multifaceted approach to ensure that we do our best to reduce these
I
numbers.
have one of the most curious minds in the world. What's in the midwife bag? I see a
So,
scissors, I see a basin, I see what do I see?
so Marianne, and if I leave anything out, please let me know. So we have the
Sure.
scissors, we have a measuring tape. We also have that you as you said, you have the weights. We also, it's a, what we love to know is that it's a carrying bag. It's a travel bag that you can wheel, so it helps you go up and down. Also, it's a over your back bag, so it's very easy to transport. What else am I missing,
Then down by
Marianne?
the sea, yes. Yes.
So there's
Yes.
also something to lay on any surface where you're going to place the baby. So when you go to a person's
Yeah.
home, you know, you have to, you know, sanitary.
Yeah.
So things here that you can ensure that your hands are clean and sanitized, that you can lay some notes on the bed to put the baby on while you're measuring. All of those things are included in the package.
Okay, so it's a all-purpose type of
Yes.
bag. But
Yes.
do you necessarily need warm water? You know, you go hot it up on the. I'm going to tell you some stuff that's missing out of that bag. You know, a kettle, a container.
Ah,
Well, but just to say that the policy of Jamaica is that we want to have labor happening at our
in the
hospital.
hospital, yes.
So we would not necessarily want to be giving birth at home that you're going to need the hot water and so on. Your
Mhm.
midwives is really to provide checkup and services to the baby
Wrong.
or mom
Right.
or both. But if
Yes.
we find therefore that your time for labor, we're going to find ways to get you into a hospital. That's the best care for birth.
Right.
I don't
Right.
want to belabor this point, no pun intended, but the issue of the midwife, or we have understood it since time immemorial, is that she is so efficient that chances are she herself might have worked in a hospital before, and as good as any doctor. Um, and she's able to carry through quite efficiently. And a lot of people say, I was born at my house. But you're saying, and what I'm hearing, I'm not, do forgive me, not that you're saying, I am hearing that you would prefer all that labor situation and the birth of child to be in a hospital. And
Hospital. Yes.
I can see the reasons for that. It's a greater controlled environment. Yes.
Mhm. Mhm.
Is that what I'm hearing you
And
say?
I mean,
Yes, that is
exactly.
exactly what we're saying.
Right.
You know, as Marianne said, anything can happen during labor, and you want to make sure that you have all the facilities on hand to assist any baby or mother that may be in stress. So
So
that is really,
Susan,
really important.
Susan, do you have to register to the hospital before? No, you can't just turn up to the hospital. You've been going to the clinic. So what Susan should do? Remember Susan? Let's not be.
Yes, Suzanne. Okay, so well, we do have persons who just pop up at the hospital, but that's what we're trying to fight against. We don't want persons to do that, because when you do that, you put pressure on the hospital system, because they wouldn't have adequately prepared for you. So what we have now is what we call booking clinic. So that happens around sometime after the first trimester. So we've
First 12
reached into,
weeks.
say, your 14th or 15th week, right?
Mhm.
At that point, when you go to the clinic, they're going to do a very thorough session, which they call the booking clinic. That's a critical session. At that point, you will be registered. You will receive additional information about where you're going to deliver. You can decide where you'd like to deliver, and they get all that information at that point. So that way, the system can prepare for you. So they know that throughout the rest, you still have a few more weeks during your pregnancy that you'll be coming to that particular clinic. Or sometimes you might find that you may start at a regular clinic. Say, for example, you go to Catherine Hall Health Center in St. James. However, during the pregnancy, you develop some complications that make you more suitable for what we consider high risk clinic. That clinic is a little bit more robust. It's usually with more, you get more frequent sessions instead of the regular scheduled appointments. You'd be seen by a physician or a nurse more frequently, and that's at a different site. So you might be transferred to Corona Regional Hospital, because that's where they have their high risk clinic. So that's why it's important for you not to miss your booking clinic, because it's at that point that all of those things will be ironed out. So you'll know exactly, you'll have a complete plan in your mind about how the rest of your pregnancy will look in terms of where you'll go for your visits, where you'll have baby. And sometimes they'll give you, most of the time, they give you a date prior to your due date. So for persons who live in extremely rural areas that is far from, way up in Woi Woi, you can, so for example, if Susan lived far up in the hills somewhere, she would be able to come down at the appropriate time before she delivers and get to the hospital. And then at that point, no, she would have been ready, and the hospital would have been well prepared to receive her to have her baby.
All right, Susan, it's time now to tell us about, or we're going to tell you, Susan, or the many Susans that are out there from the different socioeconomic group, educational background, readiness for pregnancy, planned, unplanned, all kinds of machinations that we can't even get into 5 hours of programming. What is happening now? You're about to launch something big and great. I mean, we can only always go back and refer to the campaign, that wonderful campaign, two is better than too many. I don't think the family planning board can outdo that, but you can.
No, we have tried.
Yes, yes. But you see, those days, there were but a few media houses. Now, you tell me about the plan. What is it that the plan involves, and what are the platforms? Because you have social media platform galore, and you people just pass on wrong things and pass on right things. How do you control the source, and what are the outlets, if you may? So
Okay.
you're on.
Sure. So the exciting new campaign that we have from the National Family Planning Board in collaboration, well, it's really the Ministry of Health and Wellness. We are supporting the ministry.
Yes.
So that is the healthy body is a must, clinic is a must. No, we essentially put the two key messages that we wanted to get out in the title of the campaign.
Healthy body is a must, clinic is a must. Those are the, okay.
If you don't take anything else from the campaign, take those two things, right? So we launched the campaign last week, Tuesday, actually. It was the 23rd of June. It was a digital launch where we had our minister, we had the EU ambassador to Jamaica, we had our Promac coordinator, that's Dr. Simone Spence, and we had the executive director of the National Family Planning Board, Lovett Byfield. So what we aim to do from this campaign, three things essentially. One, we want to raise awareness about the importance of early antenatal care. We just want more people to be aware of it. So not just the pregnant women, we want the partners to be aware. We want the church to be aware. We want the schools to be aware. We just want everybody to understand that the days of just popping up at the clinic or the hospital at any point you feel like throughout the pregnancy does not cut it. These are the things that are contributing to the high mortality rates when it comes on to our pregnant women. Secondly, we want to increase the usage of the health facilities. Now, we speak a lot about clinics and we talk a lot about health centers, etc. in the campaign, because we're not saying that you cannot go to a private facility. We offer services privately and through public health facilities. However, because of the target group that we are aiming for, which as you mentioned earlier are the women who are from the low SES, might not necessarily be employed, might not necessarily have the living conditions that we would consider to be ideal. We are saying to you, you really have no reason not to go, because we do offer free health care and we offer it to persons who need it. So once you come into the health centers, you will be seen, you will be adequately cared for. And I must say, as somebody who has experienced the healthcare system, I don't take my children anywhere else. They got all their immunizations through the public system. I know I could have afforded a pediatrician, but as far as I'm concerned, I'm doing my civil duty. I'm supporting our health system. I'm being a part of it, and I can actually advocate for it to other persons. So we're encouraging persons to actually utilize the clinical services. And also the third thing we're trying to aim from this, or aim is for this campaign, is to improve the health outcomes for our pregnant women or high risk pregnant women. So the campaign speaks primarily to situations that can deem you to be high risk. So we speak a lot about the chronic diseases, and we speak a lot about just being in that age group, that age bracket, that automatically places you at high risk. So we have skewed the campaign specifically to high risk clients. So because we know that persons who are low risk, so you're considered young, or you do not have any comorbidities dealing with right now. We're not saying that you don't need as much support. You do, but we are trying to skew this specifically to our women who
Go where the
are
problem is.
right, who have an issue or who are more inclined to have a problem during pregnancy.
Yes. In these days of lowering curves and from my economists, the plateau and what have you, you're hearing, might I ask, a very presumptuous question? Nobody calls us or asks anybody to play God. But if in the early stages, that Susan who's going to get pregnant and is planning, and she goes and she hears that, listen, your situation don't look good, should they be able to look at her and say, well, we do not think that you are a good client to get pregnant? Do you think the campaign could ever dare go there, or you would have people lashing you forever and ever? Amen.
Okay, so that's one direction we would never go to. Why? Because having a child is a personal choice. And it is your right, your God-given right to procreate. No one can take that away from you, no matter what your circumstance is. So for us, we've toyed with the idea, in our formative period for this campaign and project, to be able to say to persons who are maybe not so ideal, maybe you should not be having children. But no, the decision and the unanimous decision across all parties was that you cannot take that right away from someone. What we do want to do, however, is to encourage you to do it the right way. So even if you have a condition that, for example, sickle cell disease, a lot of persons who have this condition, it automatically places you in high risk, even before you get pregnant, because of the things that happen within your body, because of the sickle cell anemia. So for those persons, we never say to you, no, don't have children. We say to you, if you're going to, we want it to be an informed decision. So we give you all your options, we give you all the information, and we give you all the support that we can give you. And we have had many women with sickle cell disease bringing children into the world with, I wouldn't say easily or without any adverse effects, but we've saved mother and baby. So that's why we are really advocating. So women who are high risk for whatever reason, let's help you. Let's give you the information. Come, let's have a discussion. Come to the clinic. We have well knowledgeable nurses. I'm so proud of our nurses, because when I look at the level of information that they have and how they're able to bring this information across in a way that's culturally appropriate, they are able to break it down, get into the grassroots and ensure that,
Yes.
right, and ensure that the people understand. So they have to drop it in a patois, they have to sing it in a song, they have to DJ, they can do it.
Yes.
Right? Right. So I'm so proud of the level of nurses that we have, because there's really no reason that a person should say that they go to a clinic and they're not given the adequate information. So that's what this campaign is about, how we support women who may decide to have children later on in life, because nobody can stop you. Nobody can take that right from you. If you're 40 and you decide that at 40 you're going to have your first child, congrats. But here's what, there are some things you need to be aware of, and we're going to give you this information, and we're going to help you to bring this baby into the world.
I always travel with my economists, because they bring us back to the ground, and you know, Tashna, help me out here in terms of all of these, the goals. When would
Yes.
we know that we've had a good campaign? Either by measurement financially or the information, the data coming out. How would we know that?
So I Well, so our Vision 2030 Jamaica Secretariat, they capture information related to population and health regularly. So each quarter, we will see this information and annually coming out on our major national outcome indicators. So which includes maternal mortality and child mortality. So within the quarters, each quarter, each year, you will hear what these issues are. Mind you, you may not necessarily can say, well, it is specific to Promac because the Ministry of Health has a wealth of activities that are going on that are overarching in health and healthy population. So while we may not necessarily say, okay, it was because of Promac why we see these numbers, but we do expect that because of the magnitude of what's going on, we can say that these activities did support the reduction that we expect to see.
So
However, at the
joined
end
up
of Promac,
approach. The joined up
yes,
approach.
yes, it is because again, Ministry of Health are the leaders in this area, so they are always taking measurements in this case that they feed to us, and then we give it on a more macro level. So the Ministry of Health does provide this information to us. However, with Promac though, at the end of Promac, we do expect to do a project evaluation that looks at the our targets for the project, such as obstetrics care, neonatal care, training, policies. We will expect to do a project and evaluation and see what the outcomes has been as a result of the 7-year activities we've done under Promac. So that is one of the ways we will hope to see the outcomes.
Marian, I submit to you that one of the ways that you can count success is whether or not your catchy phrase, healthy body is a must, clinic is a must,
Actually
is on,
gone.
is on the lips of our children.
Yes. Yes.
So I can expect some catchy, some dancing thing, or what can we expect from this campaign, so that when children starting to sing it, then you know you win it.
All right, so there's several phases to the campaign. Right now, the part that we're doing under the project, because the project comes to an end in November, right? We are bombarding we're trying to bombard social media with our content. So we are on the Promac MOH Jamaica Instagram and Facebook page, because we know that the target group that we're aiming for still uses Facebook. The younger folks are into more new age stuff.
Yes.
We're also on the NFPB Jamaica, that's the NFPB National Family Planning Board Jamaica Instagram and Facebook page. We also have a YouTube page that we have been putting longer content on, so you can go on there and find longer videos about before, during, and after pregnancy, and it just gives a wealth of information in the Jamaican context. So we have those platforms. We also are using our out-of-home products. So we know that the target population that we're aiming for aren't necessarily driving. So they would be taking the buses. So we have aimed to use like the bus shelters. We have billboards in certain high density areas. For example, downtown Kingston, in Montego Bay, those will be erected, and they have the pictures are very age appropriate, and it resonates with women. We've done quite a lot of pre-testing with the women in the age group to ensure that what the material that we put out there speaks to them, and they can see themselves in that situation or in that picture, and then would know what they would want to do moving forward, or what to do moving forward. Now, the next phase of the campaign, which when we take over. So after Promac comes to an end, NFPB has now built this campaign into its overall operational plan. So moving forward, we are going to be having this healthy body is a must, healthy clinic is a must, and our tagline, healthy baby, healthy you, is easy to learn what to do. We're going to be putting that out there from the school level all the way up. So we do a lot of work with adolescents. So we're going to be having sessions where we just talk about these things, maternal health. Because what we find is that there's a curriculum called the Health and Family Life Education Curriculum, which is in all high schools, or should be in all high schools. We don't see a lot of information in there about maternity. And something like that is, you need to ensure that persons are aware of it from even before they decide to start having sex. So that's something that we'll be aiming to do. We'll also be doing some degree of advocacy from our enabling environment and human rights unit to be able to speak to our employers to ensure that they are aware of what is needed in terms of the support that they can give to women, working women who need to get time off to go to the clinic.
And men too.
And men too. Thank you. Yeah. And men too. Right. So that's the next phase. And thirdly, we'll be continuing with the social media presence. So we have not developed the content yet, so I'm sure something like a jingle or a dance, something like that, we can definitely come up with to see how much we can get traction with our population. Because say people not like boring things, yeah. So the more exciting we can make it, and share worthy. Because if it's something interesting, it will be shared, and that's what we're really aiming for the information to be on the lips of persons and to be shared amongst the population.
Yes. All right. I feel as if I've learned so much. I really want to start singing a song. Maybe I go write a jingle. But I really want to thank both of you for bringing this thing crystal clear to us. As far as I'm concerned, there is an objective, a set of goals, and this is how we're going to do it. So I've gotten the thing that we need to bring this down so we can have, in the end, a healthier Jamaica
population,
where our workforce is stronger and healthier, but it starts before pregnancy. Yes. It starts with an awareness. And so if you have gotten one client on board, if you are testing to see how it would reach, yes, it has reached. We know we have to move from 89,000 per 100. 89 per
100,000.
Per 100,000, less down to 12 per 100,000 babes. We need to do that in terms of those numbers, and you can make a difference. You can make a difference. So that, and we really want to thank you all for making a difference and bringing this home, and to tell you that you have I've also gotten to the JNN YouTube page. So therefore, there you go. You're expanding.
Oh, great!
You'll make it there because we see the benefit and the importance of this. And it's not just work, but it is encouraging work. And we want to thank you all for being with us today.